When I play Fire Emblem, I don't just care about the gameplay. But for me, it is also important that the game also has a likable and memorable cast of characters that makes me care. For example, Engage may have one of the best gameplays in the entire franchise, and I like it, it's very damn good. But the characters are so... whatever. And that's the reason the game doesn't even break into my top 5 for the franchise, even though it's really good. Characters are very important to me in these games. I love to see their unique designs, their own classes, stories, personalities, and how they grow as units. So when I see Unicorn Overlord, a game that reminds me so much to Fire Emblem, also have a plethora of unique characters, you bet I was gonna do an effort to get to know all of them. And after more than 100 hours of gameplay, I will tell you the 10 best characters in the whole game, according to my own personal opinion. So remember, I take everything into consideration: design, personality, performance as a unit, and my own tastes. And to keep things a bit more balanced, I'm gonna talk about 5 men and 5 women. That way everyone can eat good no matter what. Does that sound good? Awesome! Then let me preach even more about how incredible this game is! Please buy it. So you see, in Unicorn Overlord, you can actually execute certain playable characters instead of recurring them. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, always spare. There is not a single downside to sparing characters. It kinda makes me wonder, what's the point of executing? Maybe it's for those who wanna do a challenge role of sorts? I don't know, it's so weird. However, there are a few exceptions to this rule. Some characters you can completely miss if you don't speak to them. But there's an even weirder case to this. Prince Gilbert, sporting a unique class nobody else has. He's someone you can completely miss by pure accident, and all you have to do is to start the final Drakenhold mission in the front gate instead of using the east gate. I really messed up during my first playthrough, and I completely missed on an amazing unit such as Gilbert. And the worst part is, I wasn't even aware of it! When you look at Gilbert, his stats are nothing too impressive. Just sit here in every area? That really sucks! What the hell am I supposed to do with him? He might look like a deathweight at first glance, but Gilbert's true strength actually comes in his incredible support. He is a Debuff-Bot. He can increase the speed of all allies at the beginning of combat, raise their attack, buff their defenses, and even make their attacks impossible to avoid. Literally the only downside about Gilbert is that if you decide to use him, you need to build the entire unit around what he can do and commit to that. You just can't randomly throw in characters in his unit and expect it to work. You have to get very creative and use the conditions mechanic to their fullest potential. But when you do, he is so damn good. And as a character, I like him. His design is simple, although I do like his arc about taking back his kingdom while overcoming his own insecurities due to living in his brother's shadow for too long. So yeah, that's all I can say. Gilbert is a great unit and a pretty cool guy. I like him. Just make sure you don't miss him like I did. Fran, the equivalent of your first Pegasus rider in Fire Emblem, except that she's actually riding a griffon. This was a tough choice between her and Hilda, but in the end I chose Fran because I feel that in my 2 playthroughs she consistently gives me excellent results and ends up being one of the most defining units most of the time. It almost feels like you can slap her into any team and she will work, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. Griffon riders have great skills. They can increase allies' initiative, restore HP on their own, have great AoE attacks, and can even hit cavalry units really hard, which is amazing against those dangerous Doom Knights or the extremely annoying Sainted Knights. Oh, and if she gets targeted by an arrow, she can avoid the projectile and even gain an action point at the same time, on top of her already having amazing evasion by default. And yeah, I know Celeste is also a Griffon Master and has 2 big advantages over Fran. But as I said earlier, Fran was consistently great for me. No matter the playthrough, no matter the country I was in, she always excelled. Fran was a good throwback to how your first Pegasus rider in Fire Emblem can end up becoming a beast if you put the effort in leveling them up. And as a character, I just think she's cute, you know? She has a cute design, a nice personality, and her rapport conversations are enjoyable. Sometimes you don't need to be the deepest character out there, you just have to be likable. and preferably strong. That also helps too. One thing you have to learn about Unicorn Overlord is that cavalry units are amazing! So good in fact that you can end up with 4 Great Knights in your army, and they're all incredible! Clive, Adol, Jerome, I like them a lot, both as characters and as units. But let me tell you, Clive almost made it to the list, but there's one more Great Knight I like just a tiny bit more. Renault. He has all the great qualities of the class: damage reduction, increase the attack of fellow cavalry units, follow up on their attacks, and if he scores a kill, he can gain action points, which gives him the potential to wipe out the entire enemy squad if they are weakened. And on top of that, I really like his design, his voice sounds amazing, and I even like his backstory. Renault is a knight who spent 10 years being mind controlled. In that time, he put the people he swore to protect through hell, and upon being saved by Elaine and his allies, he just couldn't face his liege and former brothers in arms anymore, and took upon a secret identity until eventually he will be convinced by Elaine to join the Liberation so he can find some forgiveness. I like this arc. There's other characters in the story who were mind controlled too, but Renault is one of the few ones whose entire character revolves around the guilt he feels for failing as a knight and his attempt to atone for his past actions, so that was very cool. Also, I just gonna say, I love that when he takes on a secret identity, he names himself Laurent, which is literally just an anagram for Renault. That's so damn funny. Going back to the women, once again, we have Selby. God, this character gave me a hell of a first impression. I adore her design at first glance, and when I saw her class was a shaman, I was like, oh, let's go! Is she gonna attack with dark magic or something? Then I found out she actually couldn't attack at all, and that disappointed me so hard. And not too long after that, she rubbed into my face what makes her so good. Yeah, Selby cannot attack under normal circumstances, but her true strength lies in debuffing and afflicting enemy parties. She can sap away their strength, lower their defenses, burn them, or hell! There's a staff only she can use that blinds the entire opposing party, making it almost impossible for you to get hit. It's in this moment when you realize how broken debuffs can be in this game if you don't have a hard counter for them like clerics or elves. And honestly, that's an advice I can give you. Don't underestimate the shamans and druids in this game. They can easily become some of the most annoying enemies if you're not prepared for them. But having one as an ally in the form of Selby is a more than welcome addition. And I also really like how over the top she is. She doesn't have that many conversations, but most of them usually end up being pretty funny. So yeah, I like Selby a lot. Mordon. What's there not to love about this guy? As soon as I saw him, I knew he was gonna be one of my favorites. It's the design. The design single-handedly carries him all the way here. With his mustache, big nose, chubby build, and giant hammer, he's like a really cool dwarf. Mordon is also a very fun character. He's simply a dude who genuinely loves booze, architecture, and is very kind too. As a unit, I wasn't too impressed with him at first, but with the right unit composition and some level ups, he became a staple on my team. Just think about it. I like him so much that in both playthroughs he was always in Elaine's team. He just felt that important to make the unit work. His thing is that he's low and his accuracy kinda sucks, but if he manages to hit you with a giant hammer, you're done for. So, he has a skill that whenever his allies get hit, he instantly buffs his accuracy and attack, making him a huge threat. It was so damn good that, at least for me, Mordon could actually hit flying units and thieves, which are supposed to be his hard counters. Honestly, I think it's kinda insulting that you can execute him. Mordon is such a cool guy and a very good unit that you need to have in your army. Dinah. You know, on my first playthrough of Unicorn Overlord, there were a handful of units I didn't use. The best rolls, sadly, were the most affected here. I couldn't make Morard work. I didn't know how to use Ramona properly. Bertrand and Gobble couldn't find a place in any team, and Dinah... Actually, I don't know why I didn't try to use her a lot. On my second playthrough, however, I gave Dinah a chance and oh my god! She quickly climbed her way to become one of my favorite characters in the game. In combat, she's like a variation of the Thieves, a great quality cause that's one of my favorite classes in the game. Except, Dinah puts her own twist on things. She can poison 2 enemies at once, prevent them from using their passive skills, follow up on her allies' attacks, and her most defining feature, her dodge skill. So you see, in this game, the best trolls have a unique mechanic that when night falls, they get tremendously buffed. In Dinah's case, she has a skill that lets her avoid an attack, but if it's night, she will also gain a passive point whenever she dodges. So technically speaking, if it's night, she will literally become untouchable so long as the enemy doesn't have a true strike skill. She's so crazy good, and that's not even mentioning her other qualities. How fast she can move at night, or her jump skills that lets her instantly get close to enemies, which is perfect to get to bosses really fast. Dinah is such a strong character that, at least for me, she was pivotal in making one of my best teams work. And not just that, I actually like her character a lot, and that surprised me because, at first glance, she looks like another generic tsundere, one of my most hated character archetypes. But Dinah's behavior is not without justification, and I think the game does a good effort in explaining to you why she is the way she is, and to be fair, she develops as a character. That's even more impressive considering she doesn't have that many conversations. It's so crazy how in my first run Dinah was just a character that existed for me. But in my second playthrough, I gave her a fair chance and quickly became one of my best units, and one of my favorite characters. And not gonna lie, on my second playthrough, she's the one I gave the Ring of the Maiden to. Make out of that what you will.
See ya later, virgins!
Travis! No, not that one. Yeah, that's the Travis I'm talking about. When I first saw this character, I thought he was gonna be some sort of generic, edgy thief who is also very weak. But honestly, I couldn't have been more far away from the truth. Travis is an extremely likable character. He's very nice, confident, and even has his own reading hobby. But his most defining feature is how much he cares for others. Something especially seen in his interactions with Bruno and Berengaria, the most important people to him. He even has an arc in the main story, it's hard not to be endeared to him. As a unit, I was so damn impressed at how good he was. When they told me that thieves are good frontliners, I thought, wow, are they crazy? I will never expose a thief like that in Fire Emblem. But no, thieves are really that good in this game. They may not hit very hard, but the utility you get with them is invaluable. They can steal action points from enemies, blind them, attack them before combat begins, and of course, being able to evade attacks without fail, on top of them having amazing evasion makes them a must to put in any sort of team. Oh, and if you pair Travis with his sister Berengaria, not only does that feel correct, but they are an unstoppable duo. And they actually did that on purpose. If you check Berengaria's class on the game tips menu, they outright recommend you to pair her up with a thief. They knew what they were doing. While Travis may never hit anyone really hard, he's someone whose sole presence can turn the tides around. And again, he's also extremely likable. Raylanor. I love this character because...
I mean, come on guys, like, come on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna deny it, but aside from that, Raylanor is a cool character. She's kinda like Renault in how much guilt she carries due to being mind-controlled, just not as extreme. As this guilt actually comes from her feeling like a failure to her leash, Ter Rosalinda. Her love for her is such that she purposely changed her appearance to look more like her, and that's what her conversations are about. Her guilt, her devotion, but every now and then she also gets some funny ones too. But the main reason I really like her is because of her class. Elven Fencer is a very weird but also very fun experiment. It's like a bizarre hybrid. It uses both physical and magic attacks at the same time, but also offers some great utility and good support. She can remove debuffs, make allies avoid ranged attacks, stun enemies, use some great AoE effects, and even give herself a buff that guarantees she will avoid an attack. And when she does, she will gain an extra action point so she can do that again or do something else. Raylanor was so damn good that in my first playthrough, she's the one I gave the Ring of the Maiden to. So you know what that means.
See ya later, virgins!
Before I move on to the final picks of the video, there's some extra characters I also wanna mention. Unicorn Overlord just has so many good ones, so I want to give some love to those who didn't make it to the full list. Liza. Her design is so damn good! She has a very cool personality, and her class shield shooter is so unique! She's very malleable and a bit difficult to fit into a team. But if you know how to use her properly, she can potentially become one of your best units. Highly recommend her. Oh yeah, and guess what? She's voiced by Allegra Clark. I love the voice actress, she's amazing! Berengaria. Kinda similar to Travis, I really like her arc in the main story and her rapport conversations. And during combat, she's absolutely devastating. Especially if you pair her up with someone who can afflict opponents. Ridio. I like her, a half-elf who endured a lot of discrimination in her childhood. She goes through a very good arc, and I can fully relate to the way she looks up to her mother. It's very cute. Gogo. He's so damn fun! I like how his personality is all about how he tries to hide the fact that he enjoys being praised by others. And every single line he says has so much energy and sass behind it, really! Huge shoutouts to Sander Mobus, the Smash Bros. Announcer. He killed it at the role. Also, I really appreciate that Gobble is the only wolf Pestrel that doesn't look like he's on crack. Yana. Honestly, I just find her voice and personality so endearing. She's just so gentle, wise, and playful. Oh yeah, and I have a huge bias for magic users in games, and she did not disappoint at all. Her gravity skill was easily my favorite in the whole game. I can't begin to tell you how many times it saved me. But really, her voice is so damn good! Congratulations to her voice actress Brianna Knickerbacker! You quickly sold me a character as soon as I heard her talk. And at the end of these quick mentions, we have Bruno. Scary giant with a heart of gold? What else can I say? I'm not the biggest fan of berserkers in this game, and yeah, Bruno is just alright for me in gameplay. But he's just so likable, I swear, his archetype of being a big man with a kind soul will never not be appealing to me. Also, did you know that Bruno shares voice actor with Retsuko from Agretsuko? I mean, it's her death metal voice, but I just found that really funny. Anyway, now it's time we move to the two final characters of this video. Gamma. Before you judge on his appearance alone, hear me out. Don't make the same mistake that I did. Gamel and Mandarin are characters that I unfortunately missed out on my first run. Gamel I sent to Krystal, Mandarin I executed. And now that I actually got to experience them in my second run, all I can think is, man, what a dumbass I was! These two characters are so cool, but Gamel specifically takes the cake. Again, it all boils down to his appearance and first impressions. When you first encounter Gamel, he is the scum of the earth, raiding villages and stealing from people, even murdering guards along the way. When you finally defeat him, he tries to whistle out his way by telling you he does this for the sake of his ill sister. But naturally back then I didn't believe him and sent him to prison. And I mean, can you blame me? Just look at his face, would you really trust a guy like that? Well, it turns out that Gamel was actually saying the truth there. The reason he commits all these crimes is for the sake of his sister. And if you spare him, he will be moved by the kindness that Elaine showed him, which motivates him to turn on a new leaf. And next time you meet him, he's a completely reformed man, working together with Celeste and Mandarin to stop a slave trade, and eventually joins your army for the rest of the game. What makes Gamel so cool is that unlike Renault or Raylonor, he wasn't being mind-controlled at all. He committed all those horrible things on his own volition, but now searches to atone for them. This, however, doesn't justify Gamel's past actions in the slightest, and he's fully aware of that. He knows he's still scum who doesn't deserve forgiveness. But that doesn't stop him from really trying, and he's just happy that by doing good things, he can still continue to support his sister. He is so awesome, and on top of that, I just really love his personality. Even though he changes his ways, he still remains very smug and cocky. His lines in the game are some of my favorite ones. I wouldn't be surprised if his voice actor Howard Wang was having a lot of fun while voicing Gamel. And as a unit, I mean, you know, he's a thief, so yeah, he's really damn good. Gamel deserved to be at the top because of the full 180 he did on me. He is very cool, very fun, and his character arc is genuinely one of the best in the entire game. Back in my Unicorn Overlord review, I said that I don't think there is a unit who can single-handedly do everything, and I still stand by that. However, there is one specific character that single-handedly breaks that rule. Virginia! I'm dead serious. Elaine's cousin, Virginia, is insanely good. Her unique class, the Valkyrie, is so damn broken that no matter what you try with her, she will work. If you put her in a good team, said team will be next to unstoppable. If you put her in a bad team, she's gonna be the sole survivor every single time. So what does she do? Well, Virginia can ignore enemy defenses, completely destroys armors, and can take down flyers without issue. She can counter and hit very hard. She's the only character in the game who can wield 2 shields at the same time, and this gives her some insane utility and causes her to block attacks all the time. And on the extremely rare occasion the enemy is about to defeat her, she can endure a fatal blow and survive with 1 HP. Oh, and one of her shields she comes equipped with lets her restore even more health when she blocks. Even if at times I have to accept an unfavorable match and lose characters as a result, Virginia will always be the one to come out unscathed. She's next to unkillable and hits so damn hard. And it also helps that as a character, she's very likable. She's not a generic, boring princess. She's brave, wise, caring, and very fun. She doesn't take kindly to being looked down upon by other characters, and is one of the first ones to spring into action. And her rapport conversations are great and super enjoyable. And if you wonder, wow, if you like her that much, then why didn't you marry her in any of your playthroughs? Well, that's because... Dude, she is literally your cousin, and not just that, they literally tell you that she's like a sister to Elaine all the time, so like, yeah, no, dude, not me. I mean, if you want to keep the bloodline pure, yeah, go ahead, but like, don't come in, I'm out. I guess it just goes to show how much inspiration this game took from Fire Emblem, they even kept the incest intact. Okay, but jokes aside, I still believe Virginia is a very likable character and potentially the most broken unit in the whole game. You know what's funny? Even after all of this, there's even more characters I would have loved to talk about. The cast of Unicorn Overlord isn't the deepest or most complex out there, but they are very likable, and that's what truly matters in the end. Now tell me, if you have already played the game, which characters are your favorites? If you still haven't played it, which ones would you like to have in your army? Please let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, thank you so much for your time, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you could support the channel, you know, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, or Patreon, that will mean so much to me. Have a wonderful day, and take care! I'll see you next time!